As the Minister of Community Development with responsibility for the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, I would like to welcome you all here today. But before I get started, I'd like to send greetings to my colleague, the Honorable Joan Barrett. Thanks for coming, sir. My permanent secretary, Ms. Marva O'Brien, and especially my team under the direction of Mrs. Heather Whalen, who has done a great job in organizing this important and great event. So thank you, Mrs. Whalen. Can we give her a round of applause, please? Each year, the Department of Community and Cultural Affairs, in honor of Emancipation Day, sponsors a series of events around a particular theme. To this end, Bermudians can reflect upon and indeed celebrate what was a seminal event in Bermuda and world history. This year's theme, the creativity of the African mind, is certainly a worthy one. While we should not lose sight of the very real sense of oppression and injustice that persons of African descent continue to experience after Emancipation Day on August 1st, 1834, we should not forget nor ignore the very real achievements that our ancestors, with very few resources, were able to accomplish as they sought to build their families, their communities, and their identities as newly freed men and women. In fact, only upon entering the environment of the slave ship or upon arrival to these shores did these various African people begin to fashion and build a Pan-African identity that transcended their original tribal groups. They began to see themselves as one people. They learned to speak together by creating a hybrid language that combined their language with that of the European tongues of their masters. They also learned to care for each other and bond together. It is through this process that one begins to see the African creative spirit emerging to adapt to this new and alien environment. And this, along with their strong spiritual beliefs, secured their survival. Africa, as the birthplace of all humankind, this home continent of all humanity, housed the world's first known languages, the world's first written word, the world's first music, dance, art, and the world's first concept of God and religion. Many of these you will experience as you make your way around the exhibits provided today. There also will be 3 movies shown at the Liberty Theater between 2:15 and 6 p.m. This annual Emancipation pilgrimage that we take celebrates that creative spirit of the African mind. It celebrates the great achievements that we have made in Bermuda and beyond. It is nothing to be ashamed of, but rather something to honor and cherish with great pride. A limitless resource left as a legacy to each of us. So in closing, in a few days, we will be celebrating the annual Cup Match Classic, which epitomizes that rich spirit and tradition. What originally started out as a picnic to allow extended families to come together on the occasion of Emancipation Day has evolved 112 years later to become the most beloved and most important cultural event on our calendar. And while the spectacle has grown, it still at heart remains an event where our families and friends can bond, reflect, celebrate, and pay homage to those who against great odds were determined to make a better life for us all. People who in essence had little but the power of that creative African spirit to see them through the darkest chapters of our existence as a people. And so, as you enjoy this approaching holiday, I ask all of you here to share our story with our young people. Let them know of our rich history and our role and contributions in creating this tapestry of our common humanity. Let us commit ourselves to reaching out to them so that this story will not be lost. It is a story, I contend, that needs to be told now more than ever. So, as we walk about today, enjoy what will occur here on the main stage, feast on the exciting talks and presentations that are here for you to partake in, and explore the creativity of the African mind, celebrate it, and resolve to keep it in your remembrance. So as it's been said, Amanla means power to the people. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, Minister Weeks. The Honorable Michael A. Weeks, JPMP, Minister of Community Development. Well said. And I think for a lot of people, when we think of our coming to this new world, coming west, we only think of it that our history starts with slavery, when in actual fact, it goes farther and further back than that. Today we're going to explore the creative mind of the African in many ways. There are a number of tents set up for you to observe different things that are of our culture, right, Tony?
Yes, indeed. One of the tents that is available, African creativity in Madison. The African people have long been known as healers, so that is a tent that's worth visiting. Also, African creativity in cuisine, from codfish to curry. So be sure to visit and meet with Cheryl Kerr, Sister Saute, and also for a lot of us, this may be something worth visiting. African creativity in religion, one spirit, one love, a conversation on the Black religious experience. So be sure to visit these tents and share with the moderators who will be available, and I'm sure they will impart some useful information to you.
Thank you very much, Tony. We also want to recognize the Honorable Glenn Blakeney, who is here, the Minister of Family, Youth, and Sports. These new titles get me, but we want to recognize the Minister. He's here as well. Could you give him a warm welcome as well? Thank you very much. Now, in addition, there are refreshment stands and areas if you start to get thirsty or hot. There is Sensational Delights right over here behind us. Lickety Split ice cream. There is locals who make sherbet. They make it, I think, right over there, right? I think it's shop right around here. And also in the parking lot. And there are games and activities and free face painting and all that for the children, for the kids, behind the Manchester building parking lot. I wanted to almost call the football team, Manchester United football team. I don't want to go there. All right. But we're in for a really, really wonderful day. I want you all to relax and embrace your culture. And I'm sure you will learn something new here today and experience something really, really wonderful, which is what it's all about. Right now, we're bringing to the stage Movement in and Out of Africa, Don Kelly.
movement in and out of Africa. Don Keeley, thank you so much.
Give him another round of applause. That was awesome. Want to remind you folks of the North Hamilton train tour. It's actually at 2 times, 3:15 and at 5:15. It leaves from the corner of Dundonnell and Union Streets. A very interesting tour to take, and takes you around the neighborhood, North Hamilton. I would also like at this time to acknowledge the fact that Mr. Ottawa Simmons is here, former member of Parliament, and he's looking good. Great to see him out here today.
Welcome,
Give him a
sir.
round of applause. Had some fun with him over the years, a few battles over the years. A great man.
Can anybody tell me anything from the year 1919? Anything significant? Anything significant, anything historic about the year 1919? Anybody? Nobody? Just one person. One person. 1919. 1923. 1919. 1923. Well, did you know that in 1923, the last objector from Tuckerstown was evicted as construction for mega homes and golf courses begun? Do you remember when we used to own that? No longer do we. 1941. Anything significant? Okay. Well, the Bermuda Workers Association, or better known as the Bermuda Industrial Union, was founded in this year, 1941. 1944. Anything? Nothing? 1944. This one's for the women. Well, land-owning women won a 20-year campaign for the right to vote in 1944. So back to the first one, 1919. I gave you about 2 minutes to refresh your memories. Nobody? Anything in the 19th century? Nothing. Okay. Well, this leads me to this gentleman, Dr. the Honorable E.F. Gordon. Although a born Trinidadian, his good works and his great deeds force us as Bermudians to adopt him as our own. A member of the colonial parliament, president of the Bermuda Workers Association, and a well-known physician are just a few titles that this national hero has held. In the year 1953, Dr. Gordon made history during a visit from the Queen. The government of that day had failed to invite a single black guest to the state dinner. Dr. Gordon, being the man that he was outraged, and he lambasted the government's blatant racism. This caught the eye of several British media who accompanied the royal on her journey here to Bermuda. Even they agreed that this was not right. All of these actions prompted 49 MPs in Britain to sign a motion protesting color discrimination. But it was due to this man, Dr. the Honorable E.F. Gordon, his hard work, his dedication, and his firm stand towards our equality that paved the way for blacks like you and I to speak up and make an effective inroads in politics. Being seen is better than being heard. Who agrees with me? Raise your hand if you agree with me that being seen is better than being heard. Well, majority of us are like the progressive group, a large group of university graduates. This group was successful in remaining anonymous for 30 years while carrying out their very beneficial goals and objectives. They held heartfelt protests, staged boycotts, and held silent meetings for our equality. The root cause of the etiology of the progressive movement was due to the increased racism and discrimination of blacks from whites in theaters. This group fought hard for our equality, and they ultimately achieved their long-term goal of reshaping and triggering change in the island's social and political structure. It was undoubtedly their anonymity and united and organized effort on this issue which touched the broad cross-section of the black community. After 30 years of anonymity, we now know that we have the progressive group to thank for their hard work, determination, and firm stand towards our equality. The year 1963. Can anybody tell me anything significant? Wow. Okay, the year 1963 was when the franchise law, better known as the the Parliamentary Elections Act of 1963 was passed. The aim of the act was to do away with plural and syndicate voting, because 30 years prior, in the year 1936, only 10% rather of our population could vote. Out of 30,000 men, women, and children, just like us, only 2,456 of them could vote. Out of that very small number, only 1,000 of them were blacks. It took the courage of a W.L. Tucker to propose a motion in the House of Assembly to review the Parliamentary Elections Act of 1963. The act was reviewed and our equality was assured. But we have gentlemen like W.L. Tucker to thank for his contributions to where we are today, because we live in a Bermuda today in which every black Bermudian can vote. January 13th, 1965. Can anybody remember that date? Nobody. Well, that was the date in which this organization, the Bermuda Industrial Union, conducted a general meeting and held a general meeting, and a strike vote was conducted by secret ballot. Can anybody know what I'm talking about now? Well, 7 days later, January 19th, 1965, the historic Belco strike officially began. Picket signs, marches, and musical instruments were just a few ways that demonstrators got their point across. It was Our Lady of Labor, Dr. Barbara Ball, who headed negotiations for this crisis. She stated that the union was attempting to liberate years of oppression and fear. She stated that the union must maintain a peaceful atmosphere in order to get through this crisis, because without, we wouldn't be able to be where we are today. But we have ladies like Our Lady of Labor, Dr. Barbara Ball, to thank for her work ethics, her beliefs, and her encouragements towards the unified Bermuda that we live in today. Thank you.
To the stage, the Honorable, the one and only Ottawa Simmons. Just want to remind you folks that going on right now, African Creative Medicine from now to 2:45, and also Behind the Mask, a film is being shown in the theater from now until 3:30, and also, real quick, Grace Rollins is talking religion until 2:45 under one of these tents.
Yeah. Hello. The captain.
Mr. President.
May I go?
Yes, please do.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers, ladies and gentlemen. Hi. This young gentleman who just finished, I don't know that young man, but he done an excellent job in the history of the labor movement. He made me feel quite proud. And I think, too, those of us who are involved in the organizing of this event in this place deserves a lot of credit, because they done it right in the right place. And I just hope that as the day goes on, the crowd will roll in, because there is an awful lot of knowledge in store for this event throughout the day. I am pleased that we have got a little insight to the labor movement in Bermuda. There has not too much has not been said about the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party, but I just want to say very briefly that it was the PLP that started, albeit after the Bermuda Industrial Union. It was like a sister and brother movement for the people of this country, and those who fought, as the young man said today, for a better Bermuda. But it means that these young people that are coming up in this country today, they better be grateful for the struggle that has been carried on their behalf, and they better stop their foolishness and build this country. I want to thank you very much.
Welcome to the creativity of the African mind. Sierra Leone. Welcome to the creativity Maasai warriors.